What's going on, everybody? Good morning. It's been a minute since I've talked on stream. I've been streaming me playing music more, and in that quest, oh, excuse me, I feel like I found a groove, a good space where yesterday when I streamed, the music turned out like a lot. I don't know if the joke is like the way that I wanted it, but maybe that is, Okay, so what is actually happening in the setup right now? That's kind of, when I start writing music, I do a lot of minimal techno, and you'll see me do a lot of different things. But in the setup right now, or what's happening, is there's MIDI to CV, right? And then there is me using keyboards, right? That's live playing, right? So anytime I'm using the Buchla or the monopoly, it's me playing the keyboard live, right? So you will... So there's that guy. Now I turned some stuff down because I wanted to kind of get everything set up, right? But what's actually happening, right? So where's the signal start? Where's everything in? Good morning, happy Tuesday. Today's tax day. Finish your taxes, right? I finished mine yesterday. I was a little bit late to the game. Okay, but what's actually happening here? Right, so in the studio right now, I'm around, I think, like 110 or 110 beats per minute. I believe that's what's, or is it 120? Might be 120, The clock's coming from Ableton, right? It comes into the Digitakt first, and then the Digitakt sends clock to the Digitone, and it also sends it to the OPXY. And then secretly in the background, the Digitone sends 4 channels of MIDI to CV, right? I'm sending MIDI to the poly end over in my Eurorack over here. And there's 2 voices. There's a 4MS voice, which is the plucky sound you're hearing over there now. And that is a Swan SWN, and the shaped dual envelope VCA is like the plumbing. That's how I control it. Now I'm actually running it through a Roland filter too, a Roland filter clone. So that's how I filter that sound. And then down here, what's happening is there's just like an SH101 voice that I'll play sometimes, and that's sorry. Right there, see? Right, so in the end, like what's really kind of going down is it's as straightforward as I could make it, like I didn't want to make this like a terribly tough setup. And I know you're like, well, you got crap in front of you for days, right? Well, the .com is basically like the thicker underlying bass sound, right? So I use the .com as my bass. I use the SH101 as a mid-range, sometimes the bass. And then I use the 4MS one. It's kind of Buchla sounding too, right? And then the Buchla has its own I make a drum out of the Buchla, right? So there's kind of some percussive elements going on too, right? And anytime I want to do something, the +3 is sending voltage to the filter over here. So I don't have to reach over to the .com because I'm using the +3 with a pedal interface to control the voltage of my filter, right? The drums are always Digitakt and usually OPXY. So there's my drum. The bongo's the Buchla, The kick and the snare, I think, are coming out of the XY. Right. And then there's like, I don't know if it's reverb. Yeah, the reverb's coming out of the Eurorack. That. Okay, and then typically when I want to write a bass line, I'm thinking in my head that I'm going to use my .com to do my bass, right? Which means MIDI channel 3 is CV3. So here, right there, right? And I can always clear the channel, so like I'm always like counting in my head, right? And right now we're gonna write a bass line together, right? And that's coming out of this guy. And I usually pick a key as soon as I start messing around. Now I just started laying A minor as A, which is C major, as the key signature, right? So if I just started playing in A, right, it's pretty super straightforward, right? And that's the key. So right now I'm going to record something in A. And that's it. Like, I don't... And that's just a square wave that we're hearing coming out of there. So square wave in the bass line, right? Kick and snare out of the Teenage Engineering OPXY. The hi-hats are the Digitakt. A little bit better, right? Okay, so the bass is written now. We're on the .com is doing the bass, right? And so now I want a little bit of a melodic. Sorry, a little bit of melody, right? So the melody is going to start coming out over here on the Eurorack. So I'm going to go to my first channel, which is so there's my next sound, right? And this again is an A. Now I'm going to extend the bar now. So I rate the bass line as simple as I can. Right, it's just A repeating, and every once in a while I'll hit a G note maybe. And then over here what I'm going to do is extend the bar. So it's 64 now instead of 16. And now I'm going to make a melodic little... And typically I play in a pentatonic scale, like a 5-note scale. So it's just very simple because techno doesn't want something super complicated, right? And that's it. It loops. And then I have that other thing, which is kind of a drum, which is the 4MS sound, right? Here it is over here. But it's just like a tapping, right? Okay, so. And so, since I can pick a note I'm never gonna mess up because that note's triggered by the sequencer, right? So Techno 101, if you're ever worried about playing notes wrong, you know, I'm just running notes in the sequencer here to trigger this sound. Now I'm gonna just place random So, okay, let me stop. Again, happy Tuesday, happy tax day. It's Tuesday. Oh my goodness. Mine says this is so out of whack. This watch, since I got to update it. It's Tuesday the 15th. It's April 15th. It looks like it's going to rain where I'm at right now, and it's a little dark in here, and I'm apologizing because I'm making minimal techno. I don't need it bright in here, right? But hopefully you're getting a breakdown of exactly what happens in the studio when I do these live streams and these live performances. I'm running a MIDI clock. Everything's clocked together. Right now we're talking about the MIDI clock comes from Ableton into the Digitakt, into Digitone, into OPXY. And then I just live write whatever beat I feel like making in the moment. So the beat I made is a very simple, like, techno beat. So literally, this is the beat that I made, right? It's a 4 on the floor beat. I got a hi-hat that moves on the notes, and there's a pitch change in my hi-hat, so it's every other note. It's like an 8th note hi-hat, and I got the envelope really short, right? So that's the secret to the beats that I make. They're very simple, right? And if I get tired of a beat, I just delete everything on the beat side and I rewrite it, which would mean deleting tracks 1 and 2 on the OPXY and deleting the hi-hat. It says closed hi-hat on the Digitakt. That's the sample slot I'm using, right? The other thing is channel 4 on the Digitone MIDI side is controlling the Buchla, so that's how we hear the tapping. And I just use it as like the Buchla bongo everybody talks about. We've got a filtered. And then I'm just sending the voltage from the poly end in here to translate the square wave to be high enough to trigger the envelope. So that's why it stays in time with the music, right? The next thing that I'm going to tell you about is the sound that I use in the Eurorack is an SH101. That's our clone, right? And there's that. And I just made it a saw, right? So there's that like mid-level sound. Now the bass is the .com, and that's channel 3. Okay, and now that everything's kind of running, I'm going to shorten this sound because it's a little long. So the key in when I write all the minimal music I make is short envelope times, right? And then I should have strings. On this channel, which are... rewrite those, like, check it out. So if I'm ready, I'm just going to play some A minor chord. And then resolve to G, right? So that resolution is that you're hearing. And the OPXY has parameter locks just like locks just like the Elektron stuff does. So the strings, I can animate them over the course of 4 bars. So watch what happens when I animate them. You're gonna hear. just make sure that that's as smooth. Yeah. We're going to do it. Here we go. The strings are animated now, right? And so I mute everything. There's my break, right? And then now in the Digitakt is typically where I make the next drum sound. Like I pick one of my empty channels. I pick something like, an a-go-go or a rim shot or a tom-tom. In this instance, we're going to pick a bongo. And now I'm going to live record. Yeah, it's that easy, right, for me. Like, that's just a good example. Now, I'm going to do another drum, too, and the other drum might be like a clap. Lead typically is with the OPX or OP field. I got on a longer chord. It's usually on my lap, or I'm going to play lead. That's an example. That's a sound I designed to have here, a sample and hold on the delay. Okay, so that's the tricks. That's definitely how I'm making all this music, right? And the change, let's say when you're ready to make another piece of music because you've listened to what you think is the same loop, which it's never should be. You should always be changing an element within the sound. So some of the rules, maybe some of the things that I try to remember when you're watching me or when you're seeing me make music is I watch how long an element might have been playing, And when I'm listening to that element, I'm thinking, how long has the harmonic of that element really been in the mix? Because if it's a brighter sound, you can filter it down and kind of leave it in there. If it's just been way too long that I'm hearing a sound, I take it away. And if the sound seems like it's too dominant, you got to be careful, because there has to be an exchange. So sometimes it's like, well, the strings and the bass are playing, and then the midline and this lines are playing, and then I'm going to play with this sound and this sound. I'm not trying to play all of the sounds at the same time. So you might see an exchange of the voices, like, okay, I played on this for a minute, and then I've come away from this device, and now I'm going to play this device, and then I come away from a moment and I play this device. It should be an exchange of the vocabulary of your scales, of your melodies, of your bass, of your. And I think this is part of where the study comes in. You say, well, what do you mean? And I say, well, a little bit of music theory, just knowing like the key you're in, because then every device that you touch, okay, they're all in F. Now I know I'm heavy on B flat, and I'm going to play in the key of F now, and then now I move everything into G. You're like, okay, well, now I think about F sharp. Now, this is this selection that I make. Number one, the next song is a different key. And then the other choice is changing the parameters of the rhythm section. Is the drum in halftime? Is it a 4 on the floor? Is it a breakbeat? Is it a samba? What is the rhythm that I'm trying to convey? And that rhythm usually harnesses itself in the Digitakt and in right now the OPXY, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the transition and how I make my next part or my next song, and how do you come back to it? How would you go, okay, I made this and I'm going to come back. Now, in live performance modes, I'm thinking of the pattern projects inside of the Elektron boxes, and I'm making a project inside of my OPXY because I can do 9 different scenes or 9 different songs in one project. So I kind of would harness the thought of like, okay, I'm going to make 8 songs right now and name everything accordingly. And when I follow suit with that, usually I have a lot of success, because then tomorrow, if I want to come back and work on one of those parts, if one was too weak and it didn't sound good, I could come back. So the idea that you're saving projects and naming patterns, and that way you can mentally come back, okay? Every time I actually just save the projects as the same names, and that way when I turn on devices, I'm in project Joseph to the Moon, and then every song I write is the Joseph to the Moon project, right? I hope that makes sense. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. When I'm playing live, it's a different perspective. And when I'm playing in front of people, I actually improvise the entire time, which a lot of people are like, isn't that kind of dangerous? And I'm like, well, I just make music the way that I make music, so that I would say that I'm going to make it the way Joseph makes it in front of everybody, which, in Austin and in Portland people seem to really enjoy. In Pittsburgh right now, I don't know. I don't have as much contact with the music world, and I don't know the underground scene as well here, so I've seemed to be sitting in my house playing music and streaming for everybody here, which is what I really truly appreciate. I think I just hit 616 followers, and I just hit over almost 3,000 hours of watch video, which I'm like, wow, thank you everyone for watching and just contributing to the comments and watching what I do. I think that's why I like to teach, and I like to have a breakdown of like the creative process and what's happening in my head. And hopefully it gives you some insight on how this happens, like how live music starts to happen. I would say I create all my sounds with synthesizers because I can shape the sound with filters or resampling or digital wavetables, and I like some old sounds like clone Korg sounds, and I like sounds like modern weirdo stuff like that, right? So I don't think there's like a limit to the sound I like to use. I would say I enjoy like an SH-101 clone sound. I enjoy a 4MS digital oscillator sound. I enjoy a Teenage Engineering sampler. I enjoy the Teenage Engineering drum machine sampler and their strings. I will admit, I think it's turned into my string machine. That might sound weird, but it does. It sounds like the strings sound really good. I'd say I use the Digitone for the 4-channel MIDI to CV, and I also use the other side of it for things like, and if you've jammed with me, like maybe Ryan knows, I use, and Dan knows, I use these weird, a lot of there's some cool bass that comes out of it, but I would tell you guys, I use this a lot of times for the Juno sound, and for the bell sounds, because it's FM synthesis at its finest. So that's where my FM synthesis stuff comes into play. And then I use the Digitakt as a drum machine. Monopoly's like a lead sound. The bass is coming out of this guy. Drum sounds, sometimes the lead, and weird sounds come out of this guy. And that's how everything's divided. There is really no other secret to this setup. I'm controlling the filter from the .com with the +3 from Loop Pop and Endorphins, which is a really fun box if you've never played with one of these. It's just like a sustain and an expression pedal, but on a tabletop form. And when I'm playing the Moog, or the .com, sorry, it's what's controlling the filter. Yeah. And, okay, so I'm going to show you a transition in the next minute. So we're going to watch me go from this one beat to, let's say, we're going to do a cut time break beat next from like a house beat. And here's going to be the way this unfolds. So thanks for tuning in and watching. Thanks for watching any of the live performances. Thanks for watching any of the educational stuff. I really appreciate everybody being around. And let's see what happens now that we do this next idea. Okay, so in that transition, I've got to clear a couple things. So I go to a new pattern here, which is going to reset most of the stuff, right? So these guys go blank. The drums are still playing over here. And this is when I pick my new key that I'm going to play in. So the new key signature can be picked a couple of ways. I have a quantizer here, and I can say I want in the key of E, and I'm going to play an E Persian scale, and I'm just going to quantize everything. So I'm going to say copy, paste, and I just paste that scale real quick. So when I play the keyboard, everybody's in tune. I go to the bass line first, right? So E Persian is what I'm in now. I'm going to say yes, and then I got to reset the MIDI channel, sorry. And this does happen when I'm playing live. Like a lot of times you'll see me hurry up and reset the channels, and this is like, oh yeah, this has to be on the right channel for it to functionally control something. And it usually takes me a couple seconds. And then what you'll start hearing, hopefully, if I'm not crazy, like I said, E. I pick that root note in the bongo sound. All right, so already I got something kind of going with that beat. And then if I want to change the kick drum that's in here, okay, so the beat's kind of changed. Right, and in this machine, this is where I typically was doing the hi-hat. So I will go pick a hi-hat sample again, which is going to be 808 hi-hat this time. I have all the Roland drum sounds loaded into this box. So when I went like an 808, I'm just like, okay, boom, yes. All right, so we're at our cut time beat. Right. I'm going to play the bass line now over here. then I just make sure I clear any sequence that I had on that OPXY. So I just cleared the bass, the strings, and the drums I already reprogrammed. So now it's like, if I want to play the notes, and I'm going to play a different string, right, we'll make a new one. There's no limitation on what you can do with the sampler because I can load whatever I want. I said I was going 808, right? So let's play around. And now I'm going to make this 4 bars over here because now I start doing dumb stuff with the snare drum. And I just did a fill. Watch. Some variation, right? So now I go over to my SH101 sound, right? So it's just next sound, right? You know. So that's the break to a E Persian scale, like E minor style, right? New bass line, cut time drum beat from a house beat. Again, we're here in the studio breaking down how do I write the live techno that I write? How do I conceptualize a transitional break from one genre to the next? This is actually how I write a lot of my records in the studio, right? Truth be told, is that, let me stop this, that I don't like to use like plugins and sit in front of a computer screen. I'm in front of a computer all day at work, and there's no reason when I come home that I really want to do that until I'm into the mixing phase of my music. Now, when I mix music, I'm in front of a computer. Yeah, it's something that's kind of like, it's the easiest way to mix music. So anybody who's writing records nowadays is going to say, yeah, well, I record everything in the studio, like here I am in my studio recording, and then I'm going to go to the computer and edit and figure out how everything's going to mix together, right? So this is just one stage of the music process. So this is me in my deepest creation phase. The other tip I wanted to tell everybody or show everybody that, yeah, this is the gear that I use. You know, I use a 22 unit of Dotcom, which is that case. It's just a 22U travel. There's 3 oscillators. It's built just like a mini Moog. It has a secret Oberheim filter on the one side, just hidden inside of it. And then it has sample and hold circuit, which is more like an ARP, you know, kind of built into it as well. I can run about 2 voices in it. There's 2 envelope generators and 2 VCAs. There's 2 filters, and there's 3 oscillators. So you can kind of run it like that. And there is an instrument interface that's like an envelope follower. There's a signal processor, There's a MIDI interface if I want to use MIDI. So that setup is like really, really simple. And the mult is on the end with a mixer. There's another mixer on the end that I custom built here. It's a 6-channel mixer, and it has 4 LFOs to modulate the other box just in case. But this is definitely the bass voice you heard today is a single voice Moog filter. It's like a Moog Rogue, or Moog Prodigy. It's a very similar sound to that is what I'm using. And then there is the Eurorack, which I was talking about, is a SH101 clone voice and a 4MS digital oscillator, which is the Swan. And then OPXY is the drums, the kick, and the snare was the Digitakt, and the hi-hats are the Digitakt. The strings are the OPXY, and then I play annoying-ass wavetable sounds with the field, and I play crazy wavetable sounds with this guy, which is the Buchla, and sometimes that's a drum, and then the monopoly is definitely going to be like a lead sound, but it's secretly analog polyphonic voice, you know. The Digitone is my digital polyphonic voice. So the polyphony is in these two voices secretly and in here, right? And everything else is pretty much mono. And since I make minimal techno, you know, that it seems to be the easiest way for a lot of this to work. So hopefully that was a really good rundown of the rig and a good rundown of what I'm doing in the studio. I think the sequencers in Elektron and the sequencers in Teenage Engineering are the best because you can do parameter locks. The secrets inside of Teenage Engineering is something called, it's when you do the step components. So it's like a glitch kind of component world. In Elektron, it's like you can do track and a button and it controls all 8 tracks. So I can do these swells and breakdowns and then switch. So there's like weird scene tricks in there, you know. And some of the weird stuff I do is definitely in the Buchla. The Eurorack I try to use more like the .com, where they're like solid voices that I've designed that have this like certain tone. It's going to be Moog and Roland, but not at the prices of the vintage stuff because that market nowadays is terrible. And any of those boards are falling apart. Most of them are. Don't tell anybody. $30,000, but the board's falling apart. No, I'm kidding. Some of them are still doing good, you know, but I just don't want to spend the money on that stuff. So you're kind of seeing in real life in what's happening. You know, I'm about to put out another record, so that's coming out soon. If you want to support the channel, buying anything on Bandcamp really helps. I have all my records at $3, except the latest 2 are $3. They're a little bit more because I put a lot of time and effort. The older records, I put a lot of time and effort into those, but they've just been out for so long that I wanted to give them as gifts to people for this year at the $3 mark. TuneCore told me the other day too that I've sold a bunch of music, which I don't know how much of that equates to the money that I've gotten, but yeah, I've sold some music online lately, and just it's inspired me to keep playing and keep sharing and keep going. I was kind of losing steam there just because it's a little tough, you know. I can't balance writing and streaming sometimes, so I chose to write. And, you know, I want to keep streaming, but sometimes I want to write as much as possible. So you guys are seeing the process of how I write. The reason I write is because of the gear. Yeah, I love the setup, and I love a lot of the stuff that I use. So that's why I'm constantly in the studio just messing with stuff. It's Tuesday. It's the 15th of April. I hope everybody's having a great day. And honestly, yeah, I hope everybody's having a good one. If you need anything, leave me a comment, send me an email. Somebody helped me the other day, I don't remember the name in comments, but about the updating my OPXY so I can do mono recording in the sampler and it not be just on one side of the mix. So thank you for chiming in with me and commenting. Anyone out there sending me comments or liking anything, I just can't say thank you enough. And some people that I just started following because of this channel, I've been watching some of y'all out there and you're doing amazing stuff. Some of you teaching out there, some of you doing your streams, some of you explaining what's happening in your studio. I think this sharing of knowledge is really a good thing. because then people know why you're using certain pieces of gear. Or they see my setup and they're like, well, what the heck? Here we are, so that's the setup breakdown. So enjoy the day. Hopefully I'll stream a little later and just jam out. That might be later tonight. And if anybody needs anything, leave me a comment. If you want to subscribe, if you want it private, email me. Outofthebag.org is where my contacts are and all my stuff is, and where the records are for sale. So if you want to support me, reach out and get a couple records or suggest them to friends. I write a lot of ambient techno, and I do a project that is like jazz and stuff like that too. So there are like 3 or 4 projects that I write with. I have records with 4 different friends that I've put out. So all of those are online. If you need information on those, you can reach out again. And again, thanks for checking everything out, and enjoy the day.